We're going to have an update here from the Real American Hardwood Coalition. So we're going to be joined today to discuss the exciting progress of the Real American Hardwood Coalition and what's on the horizon for this important hardwood promotion process by a trio of folks. Again, a couple of which I'm sure you're familiar with. We're going to be joined by Dana Cole, Executive Director of the Hardwood Federation, who has also spoken previously at our OFA annual meetings. Tom Inman, President of the American Hardwood Manufacturers, Inc. Tom, I think you've spoken in the past at our meetings too. And a new one for the group today is Jim Maltese, who is the Northern Region Procurement Manager at Stella-Jones. He's also a Lake States Lumber Association board member. And they're all three part of the executive committee here of the Real American Hardwood Coalition. And so, Dana, I'll turn it over to you to start things off for us.
Great, thank you so much, Brad. It's great to be here today with everybody, and I know Jim and Tom are happy to be here as well. The the Real American Hardwood Coalition has been working now for, I think, about almost 2 years, and we're very excited about the progress we've made and about what we see coming in the next year or so. So we just wanted to run through kind of where we started a little bit and where we think we are going. So I think everybody here on this call is very familiar with our story. The problem is our story isn't necessarily familiar to the American consumer. So what we have kind of narrowed down our focus on in terms of our messaging is that we are beautiful, we are a desirable product, our products have a lifetime value, they are sustainable, they're healthy, and they support a family business, and small family businesses in particular. And this is kind of the focus that we got from all of the research that we did prior to starting to think about our marketing strategies and where we will be going. As we discussed, promoting hardwood, we decided we probably should figure out what our definition of hardwoods actually is. So we put together a small task force of association executives, and we decided that Real American Hardwood should be defined as solid hardwood and veneered hardwood products from resources that are grown in the United States. Real American Hardwood maintains the integrity of the natural wood and is not a replication or non-wood product. Its natural appearance, and that means its grain, has not been altered prior to finishing. And believe me, Tom actually was the chair of this group, and I know they gave it a lot of consideration. They had a lot of discussions. They brought it back to not only the executive committee group, we talked about it with all of our funding organizations, and we also talked to it with some of our industry advisors. And this is, I think, a pretty good representation of the kinds of products that we want to carry the Real American Hardwood logo. And, the question has come up, I think a lot, it still comes up once in a while, but the question is, why is now the time to be going out? What is motivating so many people to be getting behind the Real American Hardwood Coalition? And, we have been inundated, and we continue to be inundated by a growing number of lookalike products that compete with our beautiful and natural American hardwoods. They take our market share and they negatively impact our reputation. When somebody is putting what they think is a real hardwood floor in, and it's not really what they're expecting, because people do know what real hardwood looks and feels like, it reflects poorly on us. And it also, of course, when all of this is going on and we're losing market share, it's deflating our profits. So now really is the time where we have to get out there. We have to start talking to the domestic market about our Real American Hardwood products and how they benefit a consumer in so many different ways, not only visually and aesthetically, but also in terms of their health and well-being. So now I'll turn it over to Jim to go through a few more slides.
Thank you, Dana. So who are we? Who are we as a coalition? We are a voluntary industry-wide domestic promotion initiative. And of course, who is involved in the coalition? As we know, the OFA is a contributing member, as well as 27 other associations. But most importantly, we are also involved with manufacturing companies, that's primary and secondary, loggers, foresters, private landowners, and pretty much everyone that is involved in our industry in some way, shape, or form. Our goals as a coalition is to overall increase the American hardwood sales, improve stability for years to come, and less up and downs with the domestic demand for our material, and of course raise awareness of real American hardwood and the healthy the health and the environmental sustainability benefits of those as well. Next slide. Our plan, of course, our plan, as Dana said, has been was initiated about 2 years ago. So we have made quite a bit of headway, through our market research, through our meetings, and of course communication through all of our industry association and private companies that are currently involved as well. Our plan includes several different strategies to create a long-lasting consumer-based platform. In order to execute our plan, it is, of course, starting with the comprehensive marketing campaign to drive enduring domestic consumer demand for our real American hardwood, material here. So some examples, of course, include social media platforms, using our logo on our industry products, whether that's on the side of a truck or on a pallet, or perhaps even on our finished goods on the secondary manufacturing end. However, our consumer facing platform, of course, will require full industry support. And that's not just now, that's not just next year, that's for several years to come. And of course, us creating that full flow of a consumer facing platform, having that in-store presence as well. So in order for us to make that connection or create that real impact for our consumers as well, is using our logo, sharing our story, sharing the health, sharing the sustainability benefits, and of course, all of the other long-term benefits of real American hardwood. So on the screen are a few examples of what we plan to create and of course launch for our consumer facing platform. In the top left there is our Real American Hardwood platform for our consumer based initiative. So that will be more of an online presence. And then of course, as you can see with the other illustrations there, using our branded logo on our own materials. So that end user, whether it's a flooring installer or it's somebody driving down the highway, can see that product is real American hardwood, that where that product comes from is a health benefit and of course a sustainability benefit. Some other example, I believe that's you, Tom. Sorry, I thought there was one more slide there.
All right, thanks, Jim. One of the things that we really are encouraging members to do, especially members of OFA, because Brad really has been very engaged with us. He's attended many of the early meetings and has provided great input. So you, as a member of the Ohio Forestry Association, we're encouraging you to use the Real American Hardwood logo on all of your products. You saw some examples from Jim there of some product use, some truck use, some business cards, wherever you want to use that. We have the logo available to you now that you can receive from OFA or directly from the Real American Hardwood Coalition. We encourage you really to put it on any advertising, packaging. If you have retail customers, use it on point of sales materials and your invoices and all of that material to raise awareness of the Real American Hardwood products that you sell, but also to generate folks to come back to our website. We have a website now that's being designed for consumers. It's going to have more consumer information on there, but you as an industry can visit our website that is .org. So you can go to realamericanhardwood.com and see the consumer materials, or you go to realamericanhardwood.org, and that's designed for the industry information. You'll see a lot of promotional materials there. You'll see a lot of social media work there, so you can learn more from that website of how you can use the material that we're generating. Right now, we have just introduced social media. We've got our Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter accounts operating today. We've had some material out on Instagram already. So if you're an Instagram user, if you will just search for Real American Hardwood, it'll pop up, become a follower of that, and then also link to that material on Pinterest and on Twitter, so you can see the information that's out. And then also, if you have material that you're putting out, make certain that you put the hashtag Real American Hardwood or Real American HWD at the bottom of that, so that it is linked. Each of these come together. We can all share the social media followers and information that's going out. So we encourage you to do that. And then also link to the realamericanhardwood.com website, the consumer facing site. You'll put a link to that on your website now. You can begin to help us to share this information with consumers. Now, what's coming? Right now, Dana talked about that we have been underway for really solidly in our second year now. The first year has been funded primarily by the associations, but now solidly into our second year, we've got association engagement and funding, and we're turning to industry now and asking industry for support. So in the next few weeks, you'll receive materials from Real American Hardwood asking your company or you individually to support our effort with financial contributions. And in this first year, we have a goal of $500,000 for this year, and it's to begin our social media, which is already underway, to also to fully develop or at least get to the first phase of our consumer-facing website, the .com website. And then the third stage of this is to begin to distribute some in-store signage. One of the things we found out during our research is that we are woefully underrepresented in many of the big box stores. We learned from our focus groups and other people we talked with that 80%, more than 80% of them go to the big box stores when they're considering a flooring purchase or cabinet or upgrading a millwork or molding in their home. And they're in those stores. And so if you've been in any of those stores, you see that there are, sections for solid hardwood. There's sections for engineered hardwood flooring. There's also a section for molding and millwork and board programs. But there's not a lot of information there on American hardwood, on the sustainability of our wood, the legality of our wood, the beauty of our wood, and the other characteristics. So we're going to begin in this first year with some signage in those stores, hopefully to get signage in to drive people to our website and have more information there. So that's all in our first year, our first phase with this $500,000. If we are able to raise additional money, let's say we get to $750,000 with additional industry support, we'll be able to expand that social media, be able to put up daily tweets or Instagram, feeds, put more information out there on social media. One of the things we learned from the marketing team that we talked with is that majority of Americans are getting more and more information out from social media. It's not just keeping up with friends or with family. They are using that for news feeds and for other information sources. So we've got to expand that. And we've also got to expand the search engine work that we're just depending on people finding us, but we've got to start buying some space there and doing some targeted marketing on search engines to make certain people get to our website and get information on Real American Hardwoods. We want to, of course, add content to our website for the consumer side. That's going to require some investment of time taking existing materials that we have and repackaging that specifically for consumers. We as a hardwood industry don't really sell a retail product. Now we have members, the flooring organizations like, Shioga and Mulliken and other groups like that I see are sponsoring OFA. They have a consumer product. We don't as an industry. So we have to partner with other companies that do have that product to make certain that our messaging is getting out. So adding that content to Real American Hardwood, if a consumer is in a store, they see the website, they're able to get more information there. And then supporting not only the creation of the in-store signage, but going beyond that to be to have more materials in stores. One of the things we looked at were end caps and other product placement in the stores. If any of you do any of those programs, whether it's with a big box or a smaller retailer, that you buy that space. So we have to have resources to be able to buy that space in many of these retail outlets. And then if we're able to get over $1 million in this first year, to get to 1.2, we really can start building relationships with these retailers. We know it's going to take money to buy this space, to get our material in there. We've got to generate the resources to do that. And then the second part, if we're able to get over $1 million, is to expand our relationship with social media influencers. I want to read one thing from some of the research that we found, was that 1 out of every 3 internet hours is being spent on social media. So we've got to make sure that our brands are present there. And 84% of people with access to the internet are on a social media platform sometime during the course of their day. So we've got to make certain, again, that our messaging is there. And one of the differences that we also found in our research is that a study found that 8 of 10 consumers indicated they purchased a particular product because a influencer gave them information on social media that added to what they were to find on their own. So these social media influencers do make a difference. We don't have ones that are targeted specifically for Real American Hardwoods, and getting additional resources will enable us to do that. I want to thank OFA, of course, for being a partner with this, to be a contributing association with Real American Hardwood. Again, Brad has been great working with us. Has given us a lot of super ideas. Brad serves on the contributor, as far as the list, but he's also working with the task force to help us shape this moving forward. So with that, Brad, are there any questions for us?
Yeah, Tom, we do have a few questions out there. Let me start here with one that just popped in here from Cassie Ridenauer. She asked, have you tried working with the big box stores as a participant on their own sustainability goals?
That is one of our issues for 21, is that we are going to start talking with them and seeing where they are with their current suppliers. Because again, we as an industry have individual members. Like one in particular, I know of a hardwood company that sells product through the big box stores, and they know what they have to do to meet the sustainability standards of that. We're going to ask the big box stores what we can do as an industry to assist that, not just the individual suppliers to them. So that's part of our efforts for 21, is to sit down with them and see a couple of things. One, how do we get labeling, and how do we get our information into the stores? And then number 2, how can we help those stores sell our products by educating their consumers about what's available to them?
So Brad, also just to build on that a little bit, I think the timing for these kinds of conversations is actually really good. I caught most of FRA's presentation that Deb just gave, and as a group that's here in Washington that works really closely with the FRA, this whole discussion around carbon that the administration is pushing on so hard, I think we are going to have more and more opportunities, and people are going to be more open to us than they may have been in the past, to hear our story and to talk about some of those sustainability issues with the companies that are interested in kind of brushing off their sustainability bona fides. So I think the timing is really good for these kinds of conversations. We know that consumers, they focus on the beauty and durability more, but I think the companies, we have a way to leverage them in terms of, working with us a little bit more closely and giving us some of that space we need to promote our products to those consumers.
Great. Thanks, folks. A couple other ones here. We got one here says, can we get legislation that will force Home Depot, Lowe's, and other retailers to have a carbon neutral balance sheet, putting wood products in a prime position? And that comes from Charles McClure.
I think I'm assuming Tom and Jim don't want to address this question. I think legislation mandating that kind of a thing does not have much hope of passing. That's pretty tough talk. But I think with a lot of the incentive programs that are being proposed, and a lot of just the kind of raising of public awareness of these issues, I think those companies will naturally kind of be directed in these areas. So I think looking for legislation that would mandate something like that is going to be tough, but I think there are other ways to encourage companies like those big box stores mentioned to maybe embrace our products a little bit more than they have in the past.
Thank you, Dana, for that. Did have a comment here. Maybe you can say something around this comment, but Rob McCarthy from Northwest Hardwood says, we as an industry have a tendency to let our promotion thrust drop off the radar when we get in a hot market like we are in now. How do you propose we keep that moving?
Hey, Rob, you're spot on. And I know that as a seasoned veteran of the hardwood industry, you've lived some of these things over the years. And that is a concern, and that's a concern we're in right now. We're in a hot market right now. So we're beginning a promotion program. People will say, well, we don't need to do that now because we're able to sell everything we're making. Well, now is the time we've got to develop these markets because we know that challenging times are coming. And we also know the rise of substitute materials is not ending. So they're going to continue to go after our markets. We've got to establish not only a strong program from the beginning, but one that can be maintained with industry support. And that's why we focused more on developing product, developing materials before we go to the industry to ask for money. So you can see what we want to do, what we hope to accomplish, and what we are doing, and want you to come alongside.
Yeah, I would like to reiterate that too, Tom. You know, right now at this point in time, I mean, the easiest thing that we can do as an industry is just share the information, share, you know, speak with your friends and family, especially those that don't know much about our industry. You know, share not only the importance of Real American Hardwood, but about the coalition. You know, spread that knowledge, use that social media platform, and of course, you know, when you're spreading that information, share it with loggers, share it with foresters as well. That is key moving forward.
So Jim, got a thought here for you directly, I guess. A lot of people, when they think of, you know, our hardwood promotion here, we're talking about usually the visible things like the furniture, the flooring, the cabinetry, that type of thing. But you come from a different side of the industry, the railroad tie industry. And so we think about the railroad tie, the pallet industry, the maybe not so consumer centric areas. Why does someone like you or your company want to get involved in this?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, Brad. You know, thanks for bringing that up. You know, we as an industry, whether it's railroads or, you know, we as an industry and especially that sector being the low grade market, you know, you hit the nail on the head. We aren't a consumer facing market sector, let's say, but you know, what moves all of our material here in the US, primarily wooden pallet, you know, and we as a low grade industry, you know, or sector, sorry, you know, we know full well that if that sawmill is not able to move the outside of that log, I'm not going to get my railroad tie, or those other folks down the road are not going to get their material. You know, year after year, I would say probably over the last 10 to 15 years, we've probably lost anywhere between 10 to 20% of our sawmills throughout the U.S. You know, somewhere around there, and of course the last year to 2 years have been quite difficult for most. You know, so you know, in order for a healthy, long-lasting industry, we need all market sectors to be strong, you know, year after year, of course.
You know, and Jim's absolutely right. And I think the other thing to think about is that we want consumers to understand that the hardwood and the wood product supply chain is a lot broader and deeper than people think about. And it's almost like, you know, you have to think about all the ways that wood products touch your life. And, you know, if we can raise that awareness within the population, it also helps us with all of these other things that we try to do, like make sure that we have access to raw materials off of public and private land, making sure that our, you know, our products are viewed in a positive light. Because, you know, a lot of people think of wood as just floors or cabinets. But when you start to talk to them about the fact that, you know, hardwood products move all of those things from Amazon that we've been sitting around for the last year ordering. You know, hardwood residuals make the masks and the gowns that hospital workers are using. You know, there's so much more to hardwoods. And I think, you know, our hope is that, you know, we may start with the pretty stuff, but this expands rather quickly to get to all of those other aspects of what real American hardwood is.
And Brad, I'll just add one note to that just real quick. One of the ask that we're going to have coming out in the next week or so is for all aspects of the industry to participate, from the forest landowner to the consulting forester to the sawmill to the dry kill facility, all the way through to the finished goods manufacturer. So we're trying to cover that entire bandwidth for the forest products industry, from that landowner all the way through the finished good manufacturer, to contribute, to be a part of what we're doing, to use our materials, but then to also to assist with any financial help they can give us.
Well, Tom, and I think that's a very good point, because even though, again, what we see the sales of the finished products as being important for that part of the group, but if those people can't sell that product, then the landowner is going to have a harder time selling his trees for a profit. The forester's not going to make as much money getting involved with those sales. So, I mean, it does go all the way down the line. So I've got one other question. In the meantime, folks, we do have time for a few more questions if people want to type anything into the question and answer section here at the bottom of your computer screen. So while we're waiting to see you on that, so Tom, and you were talking about some of our outreach that we're going to be planning here over the next year or two, depending upon the funding we get. You mentioned the social media influencers and stuff. Do you think that we're looking at strictly people on, different, internet platforms, that type of thing? Or, when I think of some of the big influencers today, my wife watches all the home and garden TV shows, right? All the remodeling shows, that type of thing. Are we talking about the opportunity maybe to get to that level of having somebody on some of those shows promote our products?
Those certainly are people that are in the mix. Our marketing partner, the company that we've talked with that has done a lot of the development of this, has a variety of people. It's an interesting thing, Brad. You look at it like, do you spend $1 million to get the 10 million hits or followers? Do you spend 50,000 to get the 50,000 hits? I mean, it's such a balance there of trying to determine where the best outlet is for our products and to have the broadest reach. So all of that is in play. Everything you mentioned is in play. Not only the internet influencer, but then social media, whether it's a Instagram, Twitter person, or the HGTV. We're trying to get a good balance here of who best reaches the consumer and who has the best influence on the product purchasing. Yeah,
and it's a combination of that, bang for the buck, right? Because it depends on how much we raise as a coalition to approach these subjects here.
Right.
So guys, I'm not seeing any other questions come through. Dana, Tom, Jim, want to really thank you guys. Appreciate your giving us an update. Oh, I just see a question I think just popped in. Yes, we have another question for you here. Didn't get you off the hook quick enough. So from Jeff Jenkins, who's one of our executive committee members, says, does your research show that millennials show stronger support for Real American Hardwood when you present it from a saving the environment standpoint?
Well, I'll pass that to our resident millennial, Jim Maltese, there to answer that one.
I figured that was coming, Tom. That's a wonderful question that we learned a little bit on other hardwoods. So actually, since we have some time, I attended the first I don't know what's it called in Chicago that we had last spring. Yes. The first focus group. Some of the feedback that we got in that focus group was, the environmental benefits of our material is not at the top of the priority. The top priority mainly for all audiences, but especially with those younger audiences, is other cost as well. Cost is a huge inhibitor. So now that does not necessarily go to say that we're not going to focus on sustainability or the environmental benefits by any means. That will be one of the pillars, of course, in our consumer-based platform, as well as, cost, health benefits. Health benefits was actually a huge plus that we received throughout all of our research, throughout both focus groups, actually, as well. So seeing the health benefits of Real American Hardwood and of course, solid hardwood in the homes was a huge perk from all of our research. So that is one of the pillars that of course we will be focusing on down the road. But as we know too, from a consumer basis, you know, each consumer, whether it's cost, whether it's environmental benefits, whether it's, you know, I want it in this color or that color, or the feasibility, or of course the longevity of the material, you know, all of those factors come into play. You know, keep that in mind. So, you know, as a millennial, I was a little shocked as well. But, you know, on the good note, we also know that folks are willing to pay that little bit more for that environmentally friendly product. You know, a really good example is when you go to Starbucks and you're paying a little bit extra for that, you know, FSC cup or that paper straw, for example. So, you know, those are really good examples, as well as the water cartons that are actually made out of cardboard nowadays, you know, that I think are $5.99 a piece, that a lot of folks are willing to pay for. So, you know, we are keeping that in mind as well. So that is a very good question. And I did want to note too, if anyone has any further questions after this presentation, our email is on the screen. Don't hesitate to reach out, send us feedback, send us questions, comments, concerns. That's how we thrive as a coalition and ultimately as an industry as well.
Thanks, Jim. A couple more things here. We did have a comment from one of our attendees saying, you know, commenting about unhealthy homes. And I do remember us, you know, that was one of the big things that came out of the research was that healthy part of it. And I remember us talking about the fact that we're probably not going to do a commercial showing a baby licking a vinyl floor, but you know, to get that across, we won't stoop to that level in our commercials. But yeah, the unhealthy homes part was big with the hardwood. Got another question here from Rob McCarthy, who's asking, what about the environmental impact of supply of illegal logging and deforestation going on with China and the Pacific Rim furniture business?
Is that as a marketing tool or as a?
Well, Rob, can you elaborate on that, Rob, in another chat?
I will say while he's doing that, you know, obviously we're aware of that. We're aware of the illegal house. There's other environmental groups that have done studies and done a lot of research on that. So that information is getting out there. Right now, our focus is more on our positives rather than competing product negatives. We may get to that eventually, but right now we're really being focused on the positives of Real American Hardwood and all the benefits that brings, and raising that awareness of that. And some of that will naturally play into obviously the healthy, the sustainability, the availability, the carbon neutrality. I mean, all of those things are positives for our products. And that's what we're focusing on here in the first year of the campaign.
Okay, it looks like Rob was his other comment on that was, are millennials aware of those situations, I guess, with the illegal logging, deforestation?
We didn't specifically ask them about illegal logging, and we did talk a little bit of, you know, about sustainability, and there was some carbon questions in there. We didn't talk specifically about illegal logging during those focus groups with the millennials. I think Jim makes a great point that we were surprised. We really thought that green and sustainability would be at number one for the millennials, and it was not. It was on the list, but it was not in a top issue for them. So we went in with, you know, the notion that, you know, this is what we're going to hear from these groups. We did a specific millennial group in Northern Virginia, and it targeted, you know, folks in that category. And also most of them were, you know, mid-income and high-income professionals. And it really, we were surprised that sustainability message was not the first thing they looked at when they were buying new products.
Yeah. So I think we'll finish off here with Rob's last comment. Says our customers, his customers, are seeing a real shift to Real American solid hardwood furniture requests. So that's a positive. Seeing some requests out there from one of our industry folks there, getting those requests for solid hardwood material. Let me just make sure, there may have been one more thing came in. Okay, so Charles McClure comments again, assemble a Chinese baby bed and make sure you leave it in the garage 24 to 48 hours before you bring it in for your baby. So yeah, thanks, Charles. So folks, I think that's all the questions we have out there. Again, Dana, Tom, Jim. Really appreciate you guys sharing time with us today and bringing forth all this good information. So unless anybody else has something here to pop in the last second, I'll thank you guys again, and then we're going to head for a break here in just a second.
Thank you, everybody. It's great to be here.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, folks, that wraps up our morning time here at the